My name is Stephane Bisson. I'll be your host for today. Thanks for joining us on the Twitter Spaces. You can also join us on the Discord chat in our server, in our Discord server, in the stream chat channel. And if you want to jump in, say hi to the community, ask a question, share a comment, share a reaction, make sure to ask for the mic, and I'll invite you on stage, and then you can share with the crypto community. Today on the show, we've got a few topics to discuss. We got a little Discord reorganization that went on. I'll briefly go over that. There's also a new Trust EVM Discord server that has been created recently. We're going to tease a bit the announcement of a new director of developer relations. We've got some Recover Plus updates. EOS is going to have a small presence at Consensus 2022. We'll be talking about that with Brendan a bit later on. And Greymass published a nice update regarding their wallets, their SDKs, Unicove, Anchor, all that good stuff that they're working on. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if they'll be able to come on stage with us today, but we'll definitely go over those updates. And also briefly touch upon the EOSIO rebrand that's going to be officially announced later on this week. All right, take a 15-second musical interlude, and we'll get into the topics. All right, so let's get it started. So for those of you in our Discord server, you may have noticed that some of your channels may have disappeared or been moved around. What we did is we consolidated a few channels and we archived a few others. So if you're looking for a channel or some conversations or some recent posts you made and you can't find the channel, look into the archives, you'll find it there. You can't chat anymore in those channels, but you can go look over the discussion and perhaps share some recent posts that you've done there. And so we've consolidated some channels. Now in the EOS community category, we've got the EOS Network Foundation channel, the EOS chat channel. This EOS chat channel is going to be the main hub for a lot of different topics that were kind of separated in different channels before. We still have the trading channel. We've got a channel called Job Boards, which used to be EOS Jobs, and we just want to make it clear that people are welcome to post their availability to work or post their requests for jobs in that channel. And we have the giveaway channel and the stream chat channel that's currently being used in conjunction with this Twitter Spaces event. So if you want to share some thoughts with the community, ask to come on stage on the Twitter Spaces event, I'll of course accept you. If you're only able to type and you want to share some comments, some reactions, some questions, feel free to do that in the stream chat channel on Discord. I'll be monitoring that and also, sharing with everyone some of the more interesting comments and questions. Here we go. Get some sound effects going. Round of applause for Yana for helping us update the Discord server. All right, I see 18 of you have already claimed your POP token. That's great. The raffle for this month is actually going to be next week. For May is actually going to be next week. I'll be unlocking the blend recipe later on today. So you'll have a week to blend your raffle ticket, and we'll do the draw next week. All right, so continuing on with the Discord theme, we've got the new Trust EVM Discord that was recently launched. If you look into the EOS Network category on Discord, you'll see a channel called Ecosystem Activity. Actually, this channel is going to be importing a lot of announcements from a variety of projects on EOS, such as the new the new Trust EVM Discord server. Their announcements will be shared there. We'll be sharing some from Emanate, from Eden, perhaps Blankos, and a few others channels. So that should be a nice hub for people to stay up to date on all the activity going on in the community.
Anyone else? I've seen more and more Discords popping up with EOS projects or within the EOS sphere, let's say. If anyone does launch their Discord, just make sure you let one of the moderators know in the Discord, and we will work to kind of add you to the feed. It's kind of like the master feed. It's kind of like server-to-server communication. So like we have the EOS news feed, for example, in our Discord, and that's just all of the EOS news. If a project has whatever their project name is, news feed, we would want to plug that into this one. That way, anyone in the Discord, if they just want to see what the latest like announcements are for any project in the EOS ecosystem, that'll be your spot. That's what we want to do. And if it grows to a certain point where it becomes kind of like a fire hose and it's hard to follow because there's just so many projects, that would be a great problem to have. And at that point, we would probably break it down a little bit further. But the idea with the whole consolidation we went through on the Discord with archiving certain channels is until we have more activity in the Discord, we don't want to spread everything out too thin. We want to kind of concentrate all of the attention and engagement into specific areas. So this kind of falls along into that initiative.
Thanks for jumping in there, Zach. For those of you listening in on following in on Discord, I just shared the Trust EVM Discord link on there. The Trust EVM Discord server is just, getting started. There's not too much activity there. There is some, but I'm sure it'll grow more and more active as we get closer and closer to the Trust EVM launch scheduled for a bit later in the year. All right. So again, just like to remind you guys, feel free to jump in on the stage, send a little request. I'll send some requests to a few of you that I know are usual contributors, but all members that are here every week, or new members that are joining us just today, or even people from outside of the EOS community that have stumbled into this Twitter Spaces event today, feel free to jump in, ask some questions, say hi. We always love when people do that. For example, I will invite Yves. I will invite Brendan. We'll be talking with Brendan in a bit about Consensus 2022. There you go, beautiful. All right, so moving on to some other news. Well, actually, an announcement of an announcement, classic crypto stuff. This week, probably tomorrow, the ENF is going to be announcing the new hire that is going to be filling the role of the Director of Developer Relations. So that's a position that has been in demand from developers. Basically, this person will be helping to onboard developers into the ecosystem, making sure they have good access to information, good access to support. And yeah, so we'll be learning more about that tomorrow, perhaps. So stay tuned to the ENF on Twitter, and of course on all our channels on Discord and Telegram as well. Okay, moving on to potentially some updates from Recover Plus. Zach, did you want to jump in here and share some news with everyone?
Yeah, so I believe, it's been kind of public. The EOSrecover.com portal has been kind of leaked. It's public. It's still being developed very actively. They're currently in the back end working on the KYC integrations. But the update is that, so they're a kind of hybrid. So the initial 4 blue papers with Core Plus, Audit Plus, API Plus, and Wallet Plus, they were purely blue papers in the sense that it was just pure research and written content with a 75 plus proposals, and then those proposals eventually are being put out as RFPs through the EOSIO coalition, but there was no actual development work involved. A blue paper, they didn't release a white paper, they just went straight to building the EOS EVM, which is now called the Trust EVM. And they were able to kind of get that out the door in the testnet in rapid pace. So Recover Plus is a little bit of a hybrid in the sense where they have a product, but they also have a blue paper. So the blue paper is slightly shorter than the other ones you've seen, and that means it's 40 pages instead of like 75. But it still goes into significant detail about how different exploits have occurred on other chains, how EOS can address exploits with a defined process and framework, how they can conduct fire drills on a testnet to practice this process every single month. All of it's going to be detailed in this blue paper. And the news is that the blue paper was finalized last week. It is currently going through the translation and branding process, and we could probably expect that in the next 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks at the most, but hopefully in 2 weeks. It really just depends when how Horizon. Just letting everyone know that that's coming. I think that's a pretty exciting topic, considering the two exploits that have kind of occurred over the last year and a couple months. There was all of these questions of like, why is there not a process around how to kind of address these types of exploits? EOS has a very robust permission system. It's very unique to EOSIO, and EOSIO has features that no other tech stack really has in the blockchain space, and we're going to be leveraging it with Recover Plus. And it's going to be a very interesting product when it's complete as far as the portal. But the other thing is we announced this publicly before, but it was mentioned in the Yield Plus blue paper. But there's also kind of a synergy with Yield Plus, because Yield Plus, the goal is to let's increase TVL on EOS. Let's lock up EOS. Let's lock up Tether. Let's bring more stable coins on chain. And with that comes obvious smart contract risk. So with Recover Plus, it kind of helps mitigate that, because every project that applies to Yield Plus will be required to register through the Recover Plus portal, which will include kind of proving their audit status. It'll provide KYC, prove that they're using a multi-signature for their smart contract so that they can't change the rules of the game. And it'll be a very synergistic product. And it's one of the ways that we're planning to set EOS apart from the rest of the DeFi space, is because we have tools and frameworks that nobody else has. So when you look at the Yield Plus blue paper, you saw that it was heavily inspired by Phantom, which was wildly successful with increasing their TVL. It was inspired by Matic. It was inspired by Solana. But Recover Plus is kind of what we're putting out there to inspire everyone else. I think over the last couple of years, the blockchain community as a whole is kind of sick of seeing all of these exploits and not being able to do anything. So it's one of the key differentiators between EOS and everyone else. So I'm really excited to get the blue paper out there, because I think it will explain what the strategy is behind the actual product that the Pizza DeFi team is building with the portal itself. And then over the next couple of months, you actually see the portal going from its current status into its kind of finished product. Also in parallel, just to reiterate, Yield Plus, even though their blue paper just came out a week ago, that doesn't mean that the work stopped with the blue paper. The development work for the proposals within the Yield Plus blue paper, so the time-based price oracles, the smart contracts, the portal itself, all of that has actually been under development for the last couple of weeks. They're meeting multiple times per week, and progress is being made so that we could roll out the DeFi strategies as soon as possible. So within the next couple of months, we will have not only an incentive program of how you could generate yield from your stable coins in EOS, but we'll also have a recovery framework so that DeFi projects on EOS have guidelines on how they can protect their end users with what you could consider like an insurance policy, so to speak. So really excited to have that happen. Everything's currently under development. It's been under development. And we'll share some of the details around all of that on a podcast next week. So this Friday, we'll be recording, it will not be live streamed, but Denis, who's on the call from EOS Nation, and Joe Louis will be recording a conversation. We'll walk through the blue paper. We'll walk through the blue paper. We'll walk through some of the thoughts and ideas that went into it. And we'll also go into some detail about the development work that's already begun and where it stands and when to expect the finished products. So super excited about all of this stuff. Anyone who knows me knows that kind of this DeFi is kind of my thing. So I'm really excited to share more with all of you.
All right. Yeah, looking forward to that early next week, I guess, for the release, public release. All right, I see we've got a few people that are requesting to speak. AlphaCrypto, I'm going to invite you on stage. I don't know who you are. This might be a risky click. Let's go for it. And we've got Yves Larose that's joining us today. Thanks for joining. Looks like Brandon is set up now to be able to talk. AlphaCrypto, did you want to say hi to the community?
Yes. Hi guys. Yeah. So I've just joined in, and the whole EOS is something that I love. One question. The trust, the EVM. I'm heavily sort of invested in the Telos. Can somebody explain with regards to the trust EVM, if anybody has any information?
Yeah, there's been a lot of information shared about Trust EVM. I'm sure we can give a little recap again today, but I'd also encourage you to go check on YouTube on the Everything EOS channel and look for some clips from previous Fireside chats, which go over a lot of details of the EVM, such as the specifics of the technicality of why the EOS EVM has a lot of potential, a lot of comments also around the tokenomics around it, how it's going to benefit the EOS network. Did you have any specific questions about the Trust EVM that you'd like answered today?
Yeah, I suppose I've been heavily invested in the Telos simply for the reason that the EVM is so fast. And with the quick look that I have had, 0.5 block speed, 10,000 plus transactions per second, it's kind of on par with what Doug is saying Telos EVM is currently doing or able to do. So how does it differ? Because I'm intrigued from an investment point of view.
Absolutely. So I don't know if we've got experts here on the call today that want to jump in. If not, I can share my non-developer perspective on the topic.
Yeah.
So from what I understand, the EOS EVM is going to be just as fast as the Telos EVM, but what it also brings is full RPC compatibility, which from my understanding is going to allow applications and wallets to very easily be able to point to the EOS EVM, which is something that from what I understand is not currently available on the Telos, although I have heard that it is coming eventually. But from the timelines I saw recently, full RPC compatibility is probably going to be live on the EOS EVM before it comes to the Telos EVM.
Okay.
So real high level, that's what I got for you.
Okay, perfect, no problem.
Yeah,
But
so we have some of the best engineers supporting the Trust EVM team. So the Trust EVM team is a separate team. The technical aspects are led by Matthias from EOS Argentina and Dr. Who is from the Ethereum community, only project you guys would know him by is the Trust EVM itself. Dr. Who is a PhD in cryptography. We got Bucky and Areg supporting it until they get to their launch in September or October. So we're basically putting a lot of firepower behind making the EOS EVM, called the Trust EVM, the most performant EVM on the market. And I've told this to a few people individually, but I believe this may be the first time publicly, is we're not going to say we're the most performant, we're going to prove that we're the most performant. And we're going to do that not by saying transactions per second, because that is a vanity metric. Solana is a good example of why that metric is not really the best metric to use. So the idea is to piggyback on Dragonfly Capital Research, where they compared the most popular DEX on each chain. So whether it be QuickSwap on Matic, or Polygon Network, I should say, or PancakeSwap on BSC, or I forget what the one on Solana is, but they compared swaps per second, because that's a fair metric, is how many swaps could you actually do per second? Because that's really what everyone wants to know, is could you do high frequency trading on your EVM or not? And you see all these chains, they advertise thousands of transactions per second, or even 50,000 transactions per second. But what you see in these benchmarks of swaps per second is actually they're topping out at like 200 swaps per second, sometimes even less, 50 swaps per second. And that's using the most popular swaps on each individual chain. So within the next couple weeks, maybe month or two, we will not only record our benchmarks, but we will publish our benchmarks to kind of prove the speed and performance and capability of this. So that's kind of how we're going to do it. I'm not familiar enough with how all of Talos' inner workings, but we are kind of working together on certain things, in the sense that we want to be compatible with each other, because the real future would be not just having the most performant EVMs on the market, but also having them being compatible with each other and being interoperable between each other. So with like Ethereum 2.0 roadmap, for example, you hear of the idea of inter-shard communication. So that's not set to happen this year or even maybe next year, but having the ability for different EVMs to interoperate with each other is on the longer term roadmap for the for the EOS EVM.
Yeah, I would be interested to see like a comparison with Telos EVM. You know, I'm willing to spread my bets, but I would like to see a direct comparison with the two, to see which one does actually run faster. Yeah, that I would love to see that. If there's anything that you guys can do, you know, put a video out, or that'd be awesome to actually see that working.
So performance is one thing. I mean, we're collaborating with Talos and Wax and UX Network on the EOSIO coalition, and it's not to kind of bash each other, but there's other components to this. They're both very performant. Whether I strongly believe, I mean, I believe ours will be the most performant on the market. We will wait until the benchmarks to actually prove that, though. But it goes well beyond performance. It's also the ecosystem development. So the fact that the Trust EVM will be attracting outside capital into the EOS ecosystem, and then also having its own token that it could deploy for partnerships, for developer funding, and for all of the things like that. And that's on top of everything that we've built up with the ENF and the EOS network through Pomelo, the direct grant framework, and things like that. So we'll still have all of that support that we've already developed over the last several months with the ENF and with EOS. But on top of that, there's going to be a whole ecosystem developed around the Trust EVM also. And they'll be able to form their own strategic partnerships. They're already forming strategic partnerships and already talking to potential collaborators to deploy on the chain of bigger name products that you've probably heard of from other chains. So that's I think where EOS can stand out is or the EOS EVM or Trust EVM can stand out is in the ecosystem development aspect, and a lot of thought went into that as well.
And when is the name with regards to the coalition? When is the name change due to happen?
So last week, the final 3 names after months of R&D were kind of presented to the group. We kind of narrowed it down to 2 from that list of 3, and we're still debating between those 2 names. So I don't know if there will be consensus this week or not. There might be another week of or 2 of discussion, and we can't make the names public because there is like squatting issues and copyright issues, and the domains, some of the options are quite expensive. So it's not necessarily something that we want to put out there until we're decided one way or the other, because we're not going to spend a bunch of money on a domain that we might or might not use. So that's kind of the reason for the secrecy. It's nothing more than that. If it wasn't for that, these names would have probably been out there by now. But I guess to answer your question, soon. We're trying to get
consensus.
What was that?
Is it likely to be in the public before consensus 2022?
Potentially. I really, it's not my decision.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Okay. I understand. And with regards to trading and buying, there's going to be a token, you said, or there is a token, or?
Yeah, so we kind of first brought it up with, we did an AMA around the EVM in early April when it launched on the testnets. And it generated a lot of questions and excitement and uproar. But the details are only starting to kind of get finalized. So everything will kind of be announced through public channels. But yes, it will have its own token. Yes, EOS holders will benefit from it. And we've discussed it many times over. If you want to check the Everything EOS YouTube, there's lots of videos on it. Or if you want to DM me, if you want links to the discussion so we don't have to rehash them again, because we kind of got past them a month ago. But there's a lot of reasons that went behind it. And since those discussions, there's been many more discussions, many evening calls if you live in the US, because it's a global team being led by a lot of Asian project managers and developers. And the economics of that token, the distribution of that token, the community funding of that token, the incentives for that token, all of that has been being discussed and tweaked nonstop over the last several weeks, and details will come through official channels. Like right at this point, when you go to trust.one, which is the domain for the Trust EVM, like it just forwards to the developer documentation right now. The project, its website should be up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And at that point, that'll be like their official messaging platform. They just launched their Discord. They're active on Twitter. But that's where everything will be published. Like it is a separate product from the ENF. Like I saw, I think Dr. Spock asking questions about who the team is. Another thing that's been going on in the background is deciding who they're going to make their kind of public spokesperson and who's going to be kind of answering these questions, because we've been doing it as the ENF just because we've been incubating the project, but it is a separate project. It's led by its own independent team. We're supporting it to get them to launch and to make sure that it is as good as it could possibly be. But after the product launches in September, October, it will be completely independent from DNF. We'll be pulling back our developer resources to focus on core EOSIO again, and the EVM at that point would have done their capital raise, and they'll be able to grow their own team significantly at that point. So they're kind of started on kind of through the incubation phase over the last few months, and will continue for the next few months. But I think over the next couple of weeks, there should be some important communications that come out from their channels. It won't come from the ENF.
Okay, perfect.
They're actually planning, as a matter of fact, they're actually planning their own Twitter Spaces. That was discussed last night, was putting that on the calendar. So you could expect the announcement of that date and who will be speaking sometime soon, I hope. But that was one of the things that was brought up just very recently. So you could expect that as well. And you could ask probably a lot more detailed questions to the team directly.
Okay, no problem. Thanks very much for all your info.
All right, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
I see we've got some more requests to speak. Kevin Rose, I recognize that Twitter name, and Amine Larhrib. Proved you guys potentially risky clicks again, but yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Can you guys hear me?
Hello. Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Thank you. Guys, I'm very much a follower of the EOS story. Okay, I've been an early follower, etc. I'm today a digital asset company regulated in Gibraltar and a bunch of other places in the world. And it happens that I look at the bullish office every day when I go to my office, because they're also based in Gibraltar. And maybe this is a little bit out of place, but I would like to request one thing, is to have an awareness in the building of this effort. And I understand that this is a very honest effort, and a very honest effort in the making from everyone involved, including developers, etc., to make regulatory compliance and regulatory efforts as much as possible part of this effort, and be able to partner with regulated partners that are wishing well for whatever you guys are planning to go ahead with, etc., as a core component of what you guys are doing. Because regulation, believe it or not, it's coming in full force. So I would like to see a little bit, I would like to hear from you guys what you think about what you're building for the future in the context of the upcoming regulation, and in the context of the more compliance requirements that are required to grow any type of DeFi blockchain project, etc. So I'd like to hear a little bit of that, please.
Did you read the regulation chapter of the Yield Plus Blue Paper?
Sorry?
There was there were
Did I read what?
I don't know, 8 in the Yield Plus Blue Paper. So I could drop, or you could find the link if you just go to the ENF Twitter. But there was an entire chapter that covered regulatory, the landscape, what's expected over the next several months and years as far as regulations, and how the Yield Plus liquidity program is going to fit within regulation. There's also several DID, digital identity projects that we've had discussions with, even through Pomelo. There's been multiple proposals that have been funded. So working on connecting identity to accounts on a like optional basis is a potential option in the future as those kind of tools are developed. But beyond that, EOS is regulatory compliant. I don't believe it meets the Howey test, not even close. So I'm questioning what part of regulation are you specifically asking about? Maybe that'll help me answer your question better, is if you're more specific about what aspect of regulation are you wanting to hear more about.
Yeah, thank you for your response. So the specific issues that I would like to tackle are the following. Today, being a regulated digital asset provider for the last 4 years, we've been working with various regulators from the standpoint of forming the regulation, and today they're currently looking at enforcing the regulation. I don't think the Howey test is a good enough, meeting the Howey test is a good enough hedge. This is a multi-jurisdictional issue. This is not just a US issue. This is a super or an international type of environment. Members of this community belong to various jurisdictions. I hate to bring to you that the world is a little bit bigger than the US, although the US is obviously a very significant component of it. What I'm telling you from a practitioner standpoint, is that what happened with Luna and Terra is today we see today being a centralized digital asset provider. I can tell you that we're daily coordinating with regulators that would like to enforce rules on various things, and I can start by basically singling them out. The first thing is the legal status of this organization, being a decentralized autonomous organization. Does it meet the significant decentralization test beyond beyond the test that you have mentioned? Does this network include, as you mentioned, to your point, various identity and KYC, AML checks? How do you deal within the context of how do you deal with the eventuality of being deemed as a security token? As we understand from the last categorization, obviously the US leads on this. The only token that was categorized specifically, the only two digital assets that were categorized specifically as commodities as commodities was Bitcoin for sure, and now they add to the list Ethereum. All the rest has a significant risk of being classified as a security token. If it would be classified tomorrow morning as security token, what are the remedies and how is this community organized in order to tackle that? We understand that there was a disconnect from what EOS was and what is today, and today it's really a community effort, and we really support that, etc. So that's enough. So basically, having plans, not having the stance that we had in 2017, that's saying, okay, we have the Howey test and we have a non-profit and a company in Hong Kong, etc., etc. Those things they don't make it anymore. Today, there is heavy enforcement that is coming to this. And this is my duty as a regulator, as someone that is really close to what's happening from the regulatory standpoint, to basically speak about this, because there will be enforcement, because the rules today are clear, or at least are clear at the level of the regulators and at the people that can cause damage. So it's important for the community to understand and to have plans to what are we doing from the perspective of how are we organizing, are we kind of proving that we are certainly a decentralized organization, that we meet all the criterias to be a decentralized organization and to maintain decentralization as we grow. And that's really the challenge. And how can you maintain this decentralization as a permanent test of decentralization, etc., so we don't fall under any regulatory risk per se. And I'm sorry to bring these points up, but these are very important points, and this is where enforcement is gonna come, and this is where damage is gonna be realized. And this is what I'm trying to say. So what I would really put forward here is, although EOS in the inception, as we saw, it was a cleverly planned thing in order to let basically people raise a bunch of money and kind of set a deal aside, blah, 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 blah. Today, we will be, because this was one of the main projects in 2017 that raised few $1 billion and that had a company, and that company kind of dissolved from it, etc. So there is a story. There are a lot of people that lost a lot of money in this thing. There is no prescription yet from kind of legal proceedings, etc., and all the legal stuff that could. But let's talk about the future. The future needs to be resilient, and this is what I'm trying to bring forward from an awareness standpoint. And I'm sorry to be too much into regulation, because I'm a guy that believes in decentralization, that believe in the core mission of this project. And I'm sorry to bring this point up, but this is a very important point.
So regulatory and compliance is not my strong suit, but I will stand my ground and say that EOS is more resilient than almost any other project that's launched over the last few years. There's no centralized body that governs the chain. The ENF itself has no power. We're just simply granted, the ENF itself is granted funding that the network itself reaches consensus to approve. We have no power over the chain. The chain's operated by whoever that happens to be the top 21 block producers at any given time. Our legal counsel was not on this call, but I'm
100%. I 100% agree with you, and more so today than yesterday. Okay, this is.
Listen, this is not my strong suit, so we could debate this all day, but I am probably not going to be able to give you the reassurances that you probably want, but I'm confident in our position as DNF. I'm confident in the position of EOS. If I don't really know where to go from here. We don't have like an expert on this call from either the network or the team, or unless someone wants to speak and raise their hand, but this is not, I don't think it's an issue.
I 100% agree with you. You not thinking it's an issue, it's one thing. Other regulatory bodies that will basically hinder the growth of this project might think differently. What I'm asking for here is a specific plan that puts us in a position that I
think
yes, sir.
Appreciate the commentary. This is kind of taking over the call. I mean, we could have a separate conversation about this. This is a community fireside chat. We're kind of wanting to stay on track of what's happening in the ecosystem. What you're talking about is outside of that scope and outside of our control. And we make preparations, but we could have a separate call about this. If you want to direct message me,
sure. Sorry about
that. I could with people who are more experts at this, but this isn't the place for that discussion.
Yeah, I was just wanting to add to this. So Library took all of what you're talking about, including hiring the law firm that was working most closely with the SEC, and they still got sued. So you can do what you like, but basically it's not going to help you. So all you can do is hope they don't come knocking.
All right. Well, thanks for joining the chat, Amine and Jimbo. Thanks for the comments and the questions. We appreciate it, even though maybe we couldn't answer to the degree you'd like. I also see that Kevin Rose rose his hand to speak. I don't know if you want to say hi to the community, Kevin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Listening to the last question, just in general, I think it's impossible to hypothesize a specific plan without specific regulation. That's a very complex global topic, and I'm glad we got away from it because, oh my God. But I had an easy question. I've been removed from what's been going on for a while, and I could possibly be ignorant, but I wanted to ask. The EVM effort, I was wondering how, Zach, you or anyone on the call, you position the EVM effort and deployment relative to different layer 2 efforts that are going on in the Ethereum ecosystem, Optimism, ZK Sync. Do you consider them competitors? Just in general, high level thoughts of how you position the Trust EVM relative to those layer 2 solutions?
So yes and no. Right now, in the short term, the Trust EVM. So it depends what you consider layer 2. Technically, any in my definition of a true layer 2, it usually posts some kind of Merkle root to the main chain, and that is whether it be block headers or whatnot, posting to the Ethereum network. That could be something that could be integrated on a longer term, but that's not in the roadmap for the launch in September or October. So it really depends. If you're comparing performance, if you wanted to have oracles for DeFi that update every half second, I don't think that the chains that you mentioned would be able to do such a thing. If you wanted to perform high frequency trading, I don't know how those ones would perform on that. The way I envision the EVM, and someone wrote a pretty good blog article about it recently, is it's the compatibility layer on top of EOSI, or EOS in this case, but EOSIO in general. EOSIO has always been highly performant, highly scalable. It's always been the widest lane highway. But the biggest bottleneck it had was compatibility, because there's not nearly as large of an open source code base as you'll see in Solidity-based contracts in other ecosystems. So it lacked that. It lacked the tools and libraries that never really got the love that was expected when the chain launched. But EVM has all of the tooling and open source libraries built around it. And now EOS will be able to match its world-class performance with world-class kind of compatibility and libraries and toolings. So that's where I see the biggest strength for EOS, is it's still going to be more performant than those chains, those rollups. But everything's kind of competition. I envision applications will run on multiple chains. The chain itself is more about the community and the user base. And that's kind of the focus around the Trust EVM, is building up that ecosystem around the technology. Being the most performance only going to get you so far. You have to build an ecosystem of projects, developers, and end users to make your EVM attractive. So kind of rambling here, but yes, I do see them as competition, but also I'm confident that over the long term, any feature that is deployed by any of the competitors could be mirrored or done better by the Trust EVM team. And that includes posting Merkle roots or block headers to the Ethereum network at some point in the future.
Thank you. It would be really interesting to see a comparison at a product level between what the Trust EVM team is doing and what other people in the space that the Trust EVM team considers competitors are doing. That would be interesting for me to read. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that'd be valuable also. The fact is, it's still 3 or 4 months from launch. Typically, if the ENF wasn't incubating this project, you wouldn't even know it was being built right now. So it's just kind of having an understanding of where it is. So you guys are all kind of getting a peek behind the curtain of when projects are typically building in stealth mode. So I think that would be great research material, great marketing material. So I will take that feedback. I think it would be good to do a full competitive analysis. But I'm also like going back to what I said, I'm confident that any gaps that there may be, even at launch, that those gaps will be able to be filled in the not so long term. Are there any specific areas of strength that you can point out that maybe I could take note of or bring back to make sure that in the competitive analysis that may be published over the next few months would include, like, any specific features or functionality or specs?
No, I don't think. I think it would be best to do research with developers who've been exposed to those technologies. I see Syed on the call, to understand what matters most to the target audience, the people that would be building on these technologies. People need to make a choice of putting their time, effort, and capital on this or that, and so to put the strengths of Trust EVM relative to its competitors into bite-size moments and phrases and things that could be easily conveyed and communicated, I think that would go a long way. So I was just wondering if that had been done, and I wasn't sure where I had found myself, in the course of this product roadmap. I'm just kind of plugging in after being removed for a while. So I appreciate you answering my question, and I think I have a better idea. So in general, I would just do some user research with developers who have been exposed to the different technologies.
Thank you. Obviously, we have open communication. If you could be more specific on maybe some direction on going back to my question I sent back was specifics of the functionality. So performance-wise, I'm very confident. Ecosystem development, I've been watching and CC'd on emails of different introductions. We will be going on a conference tour with the Trust EVM team to even solidify further the ecosystem development, because that's really going to be the most important aspect. I'm confident about the performance, no doubt about that. We're doing things at a core level, like EOSIO intrinsics are being developed. There will be plugins created to kind of make it's just going to continue to be more and more performant. So that's not real, and they're being developed by the engineers who built EOSIO from the ground up. And those will be ready in the not so distant future. So performance, I think it'd be great to have a competitor analysis, because it will highlight the performance differences. And I go back to the benchmark I want to show is swaps per second. I think that's the most apples to apples comparisons you could possibly make across any chain, whether it be EVM, EOSIO, Solidity, or Substrate, Cosmos. It doesn't matter what the stack is underneath it. How many swaps per second can your technology do? And I think that's going to be the metric I'm going to continue to try to hang my hat on. And I have the data. I will share the link to the data I keep referring to from Dragonfly Capital. But I think that will be one of the metrics. But if you have a specific comparison that you're looking for, just ping me with some ideas on that, and I'll make sure that it gets published. And I could transfer that to the comms leader from the EVM team to start kind of documentation ready. But it wouldn't be in the next few weeks. It'd probably be in the next few months, but hopefully before launch. So launch is still set for either September or October, probably somewhere in the middle. And we could work on getting that out. But just so you're aware, as far as comparisons, like, it's currently on the test net. It's currently throttled also. It's not even operating at the full half-second block speed while it's in its current phase. The next phased rollout will be happening soon, and when that happens, we'll be able to show more real world metrics because it won't be throttled anymore. So that's another reason it's really hard to provide hard data right now, is because in its current environment, it's being throttled purposefully.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I assumed there are a lot of things that I was ignorant of, and so like the where in the product roadmap, it was. So I don't have anything specifically in mind. That's why I was asking the question. But I will follow it with interest, and thank you very much for answering.
Nice to see you on here, man. Really appreciate you giving us your time.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks for joining us. All right, moving on to another topic for today. How about we talk a bit about Consensus 2022 that's coming up? Brendan, are you able to jump on the mic here?
I think I'm on the mic. Am I on the mic?
I think you are.
All right. Yeah, I'm excited to head down to Austin, Texas for Consensus over, I guess it's the 9th to the 13th. And not sure who else is going to be attending, but would love to hear from you, anyone in the EOS community or anybody that's listening and interested. I'll be down there. You can hit me up on Telegram, I guess probably the easiest way. And yeah, I'm excited to hear from anyone else that might be on this call who's going to be down there and what they're looking forward to getting into. Yeah, it was kind of popular demand that we be at Consensus, and unfortunately, we're all over the map at that time, so I'm the only one able to make it down there, but I'm gonna show up and see what's going on. So anyone else? Anyone? You probably need to request to speak if you're actually going to be there. But
So I know EOSphere is going to be there. Miles Snyder from Greymass is going to be there. I'm sure there's a lot more. Talos. So a lot of the guys from Talos. There's a lot of crossover. I'm not sure which particular people, but I know they had some kind of sponsorship, so they might even have a booth there. But there will be some EOSIO people there. OCI will be, I just saw you scheduling your meeting with OCI. So OCI, one of the contract developers for EOS, built the subjective billing features and can develop some really cool stuff. They'll be down there. Our PR team will be down there. So yeah, that's who's going to be there that I'm aware of so far. So I just spit those up. But if anyone else is going to be there, please speak up.
yeah, we got try to think of who else we might have missed. I know Maria Cho of Metal Pay is going to be there. Wondered if we could get anybody from Greymass, but they're probably just heads down building and needing a vacation right about now.
Right on. So yeah, anyone out there going to Consensus 22, want to hang out with Brendan, reach out on Telegram at Brendan Lovejoy.
That's right. Thanks.
That's Brendan running over to Consensus.
That's BRANDON. Just to clarify.
Exactly. Not
sensitive about that.
Yeah, we don't like. All right. Cool. So moving on, Greymass released some wallet updates. Unfortunately, I don't think Aaron is with us today, or if he is, he's not on Twitter Spaces and able to jump in to talk. But I'm happy to just really quickly go over their post that they did yesterday. So I'll share that in the stream chat on Discord for those who want to read it in its entirety. But basically, Greymass they're posting progress updates every month. So this was the May 2022 progress update. Their primary goal this year is growing their small team to help onboard new developers into the EOSIO ecosystem. So they're doing this in two ways. They want to find individuals, of course, interested in joining the Greymass team, and they want to build tools that developers, including the Greymass team, are going to need to build their apps. So if you're interested in joining the Greymass team, you can check out the article for more details and send an email to aaron@greymass.com. Some of the other updates that they shared, of course, regarding Anchor, the very popular EOSIO wallet. They shared some updates regarding the desktop version, the Android version, the iOS version, some updates regarding Anchor support. Also, the Unicove product, which is a web-based EOSIO wallet that works in conjunction with Anchor. Some more updates there regarding the Earn tab, the Activity tab, and some other sections as well. They're working hard on creating tooling and SDKs, especially around account creation, account backups, and operations. So there's a lot of information there. I encourage you to go read it. And if you're interested in working for one of the best teams in the ecosystem, send an email to Aaron. They'll be posting more specific job roles and responsibilities over the coming weeks and months. But if you're a keener and you want to get in there early, Aaron's open to your email. Gonna give a round of applause to Greymass for all the great work that they're doing. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, regarding the EOSIO plus EOSIO rebrand, I don't know if we've got some timelines on when that's going to be released. I know last week they had the discussion about the three, like Zach mentioned earlier, about the three different names that were being considered. Usually, the community would see this EOSIO plus this EOSIO coalition videos every week. Wasn't released last week because it was sensitive information. But Zach, can you share a bit more on the expected timelines? Because I know the community, and myself included, really looking forward to knowing what the new name for the EOSIO software is going to be.
I feel like I've talked a lot. I'm going to pass the mic to Mr. Larose.
Mr. Yves Larose, you've been invited to speak on stage. Not sure if he's currently available. I sent the invite. I'm sure he'll jump on when he can. Welcome, Yves.
Am I the only person that's having issues with Twitter Spaces where if I'm connected using my headphones on Bluetooth, as soon as I accept to speak, the headphones disconnect and then it switches to speakerphone and then I get a lag. So I have to catch up 10 seconds of like sped up chat. Is that just me every week? Anybody else? You, Steph? Do you have this? Zach? Brandon?
It happened to me last week. Exactly, pretty much that, and it kept unmuting me. So yeah,
I'm running the Twitter Spaces from BlueStacks emulator, so I'm running this on my desktop, and it works actually pretty well.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to touch base with you, Steph, afterwards, because that would be better. It keeps switching, so now I'm on speakerphone. So sorry if the sound isn't great. I guess the question was asked earlier to Zach, so I guess first I'm wondering why it's being asked again. The idea is that tomorrow we will be meeting as a coalition. However, last week Wax unfortunately wasn't able to join. They had a fire, and so we may see that tomorrow we might request one more week to go back and ask for I guess more in-house consultations. So there's no real I guess, set timeline for when that would be released. There are, as Zach mentioned earlier, out of the 3 names that were presented last week, there are 2 that really resonated with groups, but really it's kind of a pull and tug. There's pros and cons, or I guess I shouldn't say pros and cons. There's a preference for one or the other in different organizations. So whether or not we are able to reach consensus tomorrow, or if it requires a little bit more time, I don't know. I do know that the likelihood that we reach a 4 out of 4 tomorrow is probably low based on the feedback that I've gotten so far. But it's, as I mentioned, both of them seemingly have positive notes to them, and both of them could potentially work. And timeline-wise, best answer maybe 2-3 weeks. I think somebody asked earlier, would it be ready in time for consensus next week? The likelihood is 0. I would say that that's not happening.
Right on. Thanks for reminding us. I guess I must have missed that section of when Zach answered the question. All right. Well, that kind of covers the topics that I had noted down for the week. I'd encourage anyone on the chat. We've got about 55 people here with us today. If you want to say hi, share some updates about your projects, now's the time to do it, or ask a question of all of the prominent EOS community members that I can see here in the chat. Now's your time. Jump in here, say hi to the community.
Or if you just want to freestyle over that nice track that Stephane is laying down, that's fine too. Oh shit, Dogman in the house.
Dogman, welcome, Dogman, once again.
Hey.
To the EOS chat.
Thank you, Stephane. Thank you, Lovejoy. And thank you, Zach and Yves, and everybody for the great discussion so far. It's been super interesting, as always. So, yep, thanks. And there is something that I'd like to announce and bring to people's attention today. So I suppose I'll jump right into it right now. So we're hosting the first Eden Fractal event on Wednesday, June 8th. At 13 UTC, and all Eden members are welcome to attend. So this is like super exciting. We've been working on it for at least the past several weeks. It's been coming together for a while, and we have a lot of Eden members who are working together to make this event as helpful as possible for the Eden community and EOS community. Basically, the idea is that we're empowering the Eden community with weekly events to incentivize and reward and coordinate helpful contributions to Eden. We'll be using the Fractally process, like how the Fractally group is meeting on Saturdays, but the goal will be specifically to help Eden. And it'll also just be a fun way to just bring the Eden community together and share good times. A lot of people really enjoyed the Eden meetings that we had, the Eden elections that we've had every few months. And this is a way to have it where it's every week and really coordinate really helpful work with Eden. Basically, we use the Fractally process to rank contributions. We'll break up into groups of 6, and each participant will share what they're doing to help Eden. And then each group will come to consensus to rank each participant's contributions from 1 to 6. We'll do it in about 45 minutes. So the whole event will take maybe an hour. And then maybe we'll also just have some open discussion before and after. And then we're planning to do it every Wednesday after at the same time as well, which is 1300 UTC. We also have some incentives built in. So all participants will earn EOS and Eden Respect and Eden NFTs according to the plan right now. So the Eden Respect will be counted in a spreadsheet that's kind of like the Fractally Genesis group. And then we're also figuring out more details. I've been working with some developers like Vlad from Consortium and James Mart to figure out the best way to do that. But basically there will be some sort of Eden respect counted, and there'll also be EOS distributed. So I raised about 500 EOS with Eden creators via Pomelo and Eden on EOS as a delegate. And so I'm going to be donating 100 EOS per week with my budget to raise funds for this. And there's also some other Eden members who have expressed interest in funding this at some point. And we're also working on a proposal for the chief delegates to raise additional funding. It'd be really great eventually to do 1,000 EOS per week or something like that, so that people can earn more and more from helping Eden. And then we're also thinking about different plans, like using liquidity pools and stuff, but we're just going to keep it simple for now, just giving out EOS for free, or just for participating rather. And then Chuck McDonald has also been working on some really exciting ideas with Eden NFTs. And he said that everyone who attends the first meeting should be able to receive an Eden NFT, which will be really cool as well. So yeah, so far there's been about 12 of us who participated in a meeting this morning and last week to help lead this initiative to make these events really helpful for Eden and EOS. It kind of started like a month and a half ago. Joshua Seymour started hosting weekly meetings for empowering Eden contributors. And then a few weeks ago, I wrote a proposal to start these events in this kind of way. And we decided to just jump right into it. We met this morning to finalize some details, and it's been really great working with everybody. I mentioned Josh and James Mart and Felix Reese and Chuck McDonald and Ami Hines and Vlad. Patrick from Nova Crypto is there, and Jay Taylor and Marco from EOS Writer. Jesse's here. He was there last week too, and I've been speaking with him. And there's been a lot of really great contributors to it so far. And I think that these events will be super helpful for the Eden community. I'm super excited to start. So I hope that all made sense so far. You can learn more, and you can also RSVP for the event if you're interested. And if you're an Eden member, at edenfractal.com. And there's also details at edenfractal.com/details. And then if people want to learn even more, then you can reach out in the Eden Discord or the Eden Telegram channels. And there's also a proposal in draft at edencreators.com/edenfractal with a lot more details. But edenfractal.com or edenfractal.com/details has lots of simple parts. So yep, that was kind of a lot, but I hope it made sense. Please feel free to share any questions or comments, or reach out at whatever time. I'd be happy to discuss. And there's also there's a lot of excitement in the community too. So I feel like the other people who have been working with it would also be happy to discuss. And once again, the first event will be on this upcoming Wednesday at June 8th at 13 UTC. And you can learn more at edenfractal.com. And yeah, thanks so much, everybody. And I hope to see you there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing updates about the EOS projects that you're working on, Dogman. Love to hear it.
Thank you very much. It's fun.
Throwing it back to the Trust EVM discussions that were had, Zach was talking about some of the benchmarks of other EVMs across other chains. He shared that in Telegram. I shared it in the Discord stream chat for those of you who were curious to check those out. And I see that Dogman also just shared the link to edenfractal.com in the stream chat as well. Good stuff. Another topic, actually, I wanted to point out. I see that Dogman is in the event right now. I don't think he can join the stage and talk, but just wanted to give him a shout out. He this week identified a bug in the DeFi box contract, and disclosed it to the team, and the team was able to fix it before anyone exploited it. Wasn't a massively critical bug. I don't think the total potential exposure was all that high, but it's nice to see that community members in EOS are checking out our DeFi protocols and alerting the teams about them in order to, and Dogman was able to receive, Bluedog, too many dogs out here. Bluedog was able to receive a bounty from the DeFi box team. So that's great to see, that the ecosystem is in a healthy place where, our community members are more incentivized to report the bug as a white hat instead of exploiting it as a black hat. So tip of my hat to the Bluedog for the good work that he's doing for the EOS community. And a round of applause for the Bluedog.
Go Bluedog.
All right, let's see. Is there anyone else requesting to join the stage? You want to say hi real quick? I invite you to do that at this time. All right, so if that's it, I guess we're going to wrap it up at this point. Was a shorter fireside chat than usual. I think it's been many months actually since there wasn't more big topics to discuss in the EOS community. But I'm sure we'll be back at it, going for 2 hours in the coming weeks as we have a lot of exciting releases with Yield Plus, Recover Plus, the EOSIO Rebrand, Consensus, all the good things that we've been talking about. There's a lot coming up in the next few weeks. So yeah, so I guess that's it. If you want to jump in here, help me sign out for the week, feel free to do that. Other than that, I'm going to thank you all for joining us. Thanks to the community members who are here every week. Thanks to the people who just dropped in for the first time today and jumped in on the stage with us. Much appreciated. And, I've had an enjoyable time hosting the show for everyone. And I'll be back next week again for another EOS Fireside Chat. So on that note, gonna sign off. Have a good night, everyone, and go EOS.
Go EOS. Thanks, Stephane, so much. Thanks, everybody.
Go EOS.
Go EOS.
All right.